Sydney Sweeney is suddenly explaining herself, and that alone is what has people paying attention. Not because the explanation is explosive, but because of how long it took to arrive. Her new movie hasn't even hit theaters yet, and already the energy around her feels tense, like someone trying to clean up a room before guests walk in. For months, she stood by an ad campaign she said spoke for itself. Now, right as a new press cycle begins, she's walking things back. And that timing is doing more damage than the controversy ever did. Because when the American Eagle campaign first dropped, it wasn't just another celebrity endorsement. The imagery, the language, the framing, all landed in a moment where people were already sensitive. Some viewers immediately felt something was off. Others didn't see an issue at all, but instead of clearing the air, Sydney stayed quiet. No clarification, no context. Just silence paired with red carpets, interviews, and business as usual. And that silence gave everyone else permission to fill in the blanks. At first, that strategy seemed intentional. Sydney looked unbothered, booked, smiling, moving like nothing could touch her. But silence only works when the audience is still rooting for you. Once doubt creeps in, silence doesn't look confident anymore, it looks avoidant. And the longer it stretched on, the more people started asking why she wouldn't just say one clear sentence. Not an essay, not a speech. Just a line that drew a boundary that never came. What made it worse was the sense that her team wasn't guiding her at all. For someone positioned as a major Hollywood asset, the response felt strangely uncoordinated. No controlled statement, no damage control, no reframing. She was left to navigate interviews alone, and that became obvious when she finally addressed the situation on a major platform. The styling was off, the tone felt defensive, and instead of addressing the criticism directly, she leaned into talking about how much she loves jeans. It felt like a distraction, not a response. When the interviewer gave her a clean opening to speak on the broader criticism, especially around the political interpretation, Sydney sidestepped again. She said, when she has something to say, people will hear it. But that was the moment people were asking to hear it. And the fact that she didn't take it made the situation feel unresolved. It wasn't outrage that followed, it was confusion. And confusion is dangerous because it doesn't fade on its own. At the same time, her career momentum wasn't doing her any favors. A string of underperforming projects started piling up. Films that didn't land, promotions that felt quiet, buzz that relied more on controversy than on excitement. When someone's work is undeniable, audiences forgive almost anything. But when the output feels shaky, scrutiny gets louder. People started reassessing her not just as a personality, but as an actor. Was she exceptional or just highly visible? Then there was the phrase she kept returning to. Anyone who knows me knows. It was meant to reassure, but it did the opposite. Because the public doesn't know her. They know characters, campaigns, carefully curated moments. Saying that line over and over created distance instead of closeness. If anything, it highlighted how little insight she was actually offering. People weren't demanding her personal beliefs, they were asking for clarity, and clarity never arrived. Months later, she finally admitted that staying silent widened the divide instead of closing it. That acknowledgement mattered. But again, the timing raised questions. Why now? Why after the press tour starts? Why after interest in her projects feels quieter than before? It didn't come across as growth to everyone. To some, it felt like recalibration. Not because she changed, but because the environment around her did. Meanwhile, the American Eagle campaign itself was wildly successful. Sales surged. Stock rose. The brand got exactly what it wanted. And that made one thing clear. Corporations don't step into controversy unless it hurts their bottom line. As long as the numbers look good, they stay silent too. That left Sydney alone to deal with the fallout, and she didn't seem prepared for that reality. Despite everything, she's still visible, still attending events, still photographed weekly. From the outside, it looks like nothing slowed her down. But visibility without connection doesn't mean much. People noticed that she was everywhere, yet saying very little. Glam without substance, appearances without answers, and over time, that erodes interest. Some fans defend her fiercely, arguing she's been dragged unfairly. Others say they don't hate her, they just don't care anymore. And that's the more dangerous position to be in. Indifference doesn't spark outrage, but it doesn't fuel support either. It's the quiet disengagement that leaves careers stalled instead of destroyed. There's also the larger context. Hollywood itself feels underwhelming to a lot of people right now. Familiar faces, safe choices, projects that don't excite the way they used to. When audiences feel bored, they scrutinize harder. They expect more. And when stars don't deliver either clarity or excellence, the disconnect grows. Sydney isn't canceled. She isn't done. She's still talented, still young, still positioned for opportunity. But something shifted this year. The illusion of being untouchable cracked. And instead of confronting it early, she waited. Now she's trying to reset the narrative with softer language, calls for unity, and a hope that the new year brings less division. The message itself isn't wrong, but for many people it didn't land because it felt disconnected from the moment that caused the divide in the first place. At the end of the day, this isn't about one ad or one interview. It's about how quickly perception can change when silence replaces clarity. Sydney Sweeney didn't lose everything, but she lost momentum, and rebuilding that takes more than apologies that arrive late. It takes honesty when it's uncomfortable, not when it's convenient. As she steps into her next chapter, the real question isn't whether Hollywood will give her another chance. It's whether audiences feel the reason to stay invested. And in an industry already struggling to excite people, that connection matters more than ever.